there's a lot of politics in the sport, and they're gonna keep giving it to Canelo. You know, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, Canelo's doing great in his career. He's doing good. He's the pound for pound king of the sport right now. But honestly, I don't take much from Terence Crawford. To me, Terence Crawford is pound for pound, the number one pound for pound fighter in the world right now.
Were you surprised with what Terence Crawford did to Errol Spence?
No. I actually bet a lot of money on that fight, and I bet that it will end before the 10, and it was in the 9.
For the people that probably don't have that insight that you do as a trainer, I think a lot of people were shocked. Maybe some people did expect Terence to win, but they didn't expect for him to do what he did in that way.
I did because I know Terence Crawford is a very smart fighter, very technical, very smart. He was gonna break him in the first round. I knew what he was doing. He wasn't throwing him punches. He was feeling him out. He was feeling out Spence the first round until in the second round he dropped him, and after that, the fight was his. It was an easy fight for him, very easy. Don't forget that Terence Crawford was with me for 2 camps. When he was like 8-0, he was helping Tim Bradley spar for Manny Pacquiao. And I honestly thought he was a natural lefty when he's a right-hander, but he fights lefty as well. That guy has a lot of weapons in his artillery because he's a southpaw and he's orthodox and he dominates both stands pretty well.
Yeah, and I was just going to bring up that question. You had a first-hand account to that. Somebody that wasn't surprised as well was Tim Bradley, right? Mm-hmm. He said, can you tell us a little bit about how those sparring were?
Well, those sparring were great. I mean, you're talking about championship sparring because Terence Crawford was a great amateur fighter. And when he came to camp with us, he became really good friends with Tim. And those sparrings were like elite sparrings because Tim Bradley was fighting for a world title. And Terence Crawford was a top prospect at the time, and he was hungry. It was great sparring, man. Those rounds were some of the best sparring sessions I've had in my gym because those 2 guys, very skillful, very talented, and they were both in their prime.
Yeah, and of course, Tim Bradley was at that moment, like you said, getting ready for Manny Pacquiao, so he was locked in.
Some of the best sparring rounds I've ever had in my gym.
What do you remember Tim Bradley saying about Terence Crawford, post sparring?
Well, Tim Bradley always respected Crawford. He respected him, and he always said, he goes, I grew up in the sport to the point where, man, if it happens that I'm gonna fight him, I have so much respect for him, I will not fight Terence Crawford. But he knows because he's a great athlete. He knows the ability that he has, and those 2 guys knew each other so well that they had much respect for each other, and it was one of the greatest moments of Timothy Bradley's career, having Terence Crawford come and help him for 2 camps. They became friends. They're friends up to now, to this day, and due to the fact that they had so much respect for each other during the time they helped each other for that fight.
Can you tell me a little bit about what made Tim Bradley, reach that championship status? Because when we look back, a lot of people maybe didn't think he was the most technical fighter, but he always found a way to win against Devon Alexander.
Tim Bradley is one of the only fighters that I know in boxing history that was never on the A side.